welcome to Laughter Talks. This is Marguerite Fair, and I have a lovely guest today. And what I'm going to do right now is get right into it and introduce her to you. So let me tell you a little bit about Stacy Newton. She is a scriptwriter, actress, and author of Angels Survive, as well as other books. And with over 5 years of writing, Stacy has a unique voice that glows through her novels. Stacy has been in several independent films, taught English in Shanghai, and published 5 books. You've been a busy, busy lady. Now, Stacy has been writing and creating characters since the 5th grade, and she lives in Los Angeles and travels to Dallas, where she's coming to us today from Dallas. And that's where her family and West Highland Terrier Chloe live. And she enjoys dancing and acting lessons. And we were introduced by a friend, Samantha Wagoner, and I thank her for introducing us. So, welcome so much, Stacy. Thank you for being here.
Well, thank you so much. This is a pleasure, such a pleasure.
Oh, I'm just loving it. So, what I find most interesting right off the bat about your writing is that you were doing this since the 5th grade, and I knew at 10 that I was a writer. Tell me, how did you know at that age? What was it that pivoted you into knowing you were a writer?
Yes, well, I love journaling, and I couldn't put a pencil or a notebook down. I was constantly writing. And when I would have like slumber parties, I
Yeah.
would write stories and I would read them to my girlfriends, and they were like, "Oh, we love this. What are you going to write next?" And I was constantly watching television and movies and writing myself
Wonderful.
into the shows, and so my friends thought that was great. So I've had a lot of support through my friends and my family. So I thought, well, this is what I want to do. I'm getting a positive response.
Did you start with the acting? I know you're an actress. Is that how you started? Tell us
No,
about which
actually, yeah, actually, I kind of fell into that. Well, I mean, I started out as a dancer and then I knew, journaling. But when I met I won't say any names, but I met a very famous producer, director in Los Angeles, and he invited me to one of his premieres, and I went and I decided this is what I want to do. So I needed to learn how to do film writing because being an author, I didn't really know anything about film writing. This does lead me into acting. And so I started on my journey. I started going to Los Angeles and getting involved with the studio. And then he invited me to be on one of his films. I didn't even have a headshot. I didn't even know what a headshot was. And so I traveled to Washington. I filmed. And then when I got involved with the studio, he put me on another film. And then I found all these great, wonderful directors, producers, writers like me. And they invited me to be in their film. So that I kind of fell into it. I mean, he felt like as writers, directors, producers, we should all kind of intricately know what the other one is doing so that we understand the teamwork, you know?
Well, that's very good
Yeah.
because it helped you. It sounds like with all areas and your writing. Now I know if people go on your website, they can find out who you're talking about.
Yes.
I know
We'll
you
just
said
say Studio 4.
okay, yeah. Now, yeah, tell everybody your website link. I'm going to put it up here.
Sure. It's www.stacyKnewton. And it just, if you Google it, or you can just Google me and the
Yeah.
website will come up.
And well, before I forget now, how do you like for people to contact you? I always like to ask that. I don't want to forget. If someone wants to reach out to you, how do you like to be contacted?
Usually through Messenger is fine.
Which one?
Instagram, Messenger, I get a
Yeah.
lot
Okay.
of
Oh, that's good to
contact.
know.
Yes,
Now,
yes.
I know that now we're here. Let's talk about your newest book, Angels
Okay.
Survive. And would you tell us about that a little bit? What's going on with that? It's
Sure,
beautiful
sure. Well,
title.
actually, currently that is one of my first books that I wrote. It isn't
Mm,
currently my first one. I mean
okay.
my latest one. But Angel Survive is a Hollywood romance book that I wrote. Um, it's about a writer, not about me, I promise you. It's about a writer, not about me. Uh,
Okay.
okay, I promise. About a writer who meets the bad boy of Hollywood. And the bad boy just happens to be one of the best producers of our generation. And she has like a really overbearing, radical minister who is not happy at all about their relationship. And she ends up changing the bad boy's life, his whole entire image. And I can't do a spoil, I can't do
Yeah,
the
you don't
ending,
want to
but it's kind
spoil
of
because
quick. But I will tell you that Creatures of the Night, the books that I do write, I believe life doesn't always have a happy ending, right?
of course.
But we have good endings, right? Because
Yeah.
life is still continuing and we can make it good. So a lot of my female characters are very strong.
Yeah.
And I feel like my books might have some sadness or twists that happen because that's life. Not
Yeah.
everything has a happy ending, but my characters go on satisfied and I feel like my readers are satisfied because it's positive, has a positive ending.
Yeah. So where did you get the idea for that? Because that sounds really, really like a good story.
One of my favorite writers in the whole entire, well, two of them, I would have to say Stephen King
Oh, yes.
and Anne Rice. They have completely motivated me in my writing. It they have taught me different genres. I mean, I love horror. I'm a huge horror fan, but not the blood and gore. I like stories like vampires because it's sad,
Yeah.
it's depressing.
Yeah.
They live all night, they're up all day, all night. They have such this lonely, and I think people feel like that. I felt like that during COVID. Like we feel
Yeah.
like sometimes we're just vampires
Yeah.
floating
You're
into the
right.
world. And so when I started Creatures of the Night, it actually was a very happy book. And then my characters, I know you know this as a writer, started turning. And as they were developing, one got really evil and the other one just kind of flowed through the evil character. So it
Yeah.
kind of got dark. But Anne Rice and Stephen King write very human characters,
Yes,
just
they
very
do.
human, ordinary, everyday life with this dimension of horror that we all can relate to.
Yes. I always said Stephen King was my favorite author since I was very young, because I remember one time he described the inside of a medicine cabinet and I was fascinated by it. He's
Yeah.
an exceptional writer and the
Yes,
characters are amazing.
yes, I
Wonderful.
do.
So,
I agree with that. And with Anne Rice, her characters are very passionate. I love that
yeah.
twist of I love me, but do I really love me? Like that question of do I love me when things are bad? Because I feel like I'm unlovable. And I feel like a lot of her characters, we can relate to that. Like, oh, yes,
Yeah.
I'm great. I love me. I think when something horrible happens, you kind of question and doubt that. I
Yeah.
think a lot of her characters are very much like that.
And
And I
yet
love it.
I noticed you have another book, God's People Become Role Models for
Yes.
contemporary professionals. And tell us about that one. That's another very interesting title.
Yeah, well, when I was going through this journey of, I was actually a pre-K teacher before professionally, I went into knowing this is really what I wanted to do, act, film, writing, and acting. And during that time, I wanted to make sure I was doing the right thing. And so my mom and I co-wrote uh, this book about, now I'm not saying if you're not happy in your job, you should quit. I mean, you should always have some, you should be, if you're not happy or you've been laid off, I think that is a time that you should search for what you do want to do
Yes.
with your dream, and how can you financially make it work. I mean, sometimes I still have to subcontract. I'm still, I, as an artist, we have to do a lot of things. Sometimes we can't just make a living just writing, acting. You have to be very you have to be ready for that,
Yeah.
and I
Very
think,
creative.
yeah, and I think if you're really unhappy and just don't like where you are, you should really uh pray about it to whoever your higher being is, and really kind of figure out what your soul is telling you. And so that's what this book, that's what it's a workbook. It's meant to be worked as a group with other professionals or people that are feeling that way too, and kind of as a accountability, you know.
Well, I saw on the site also that you do coaching and editing and all these
Yeah.
other facets of writing. So is that a tool that you use in your coaching?
Yes. Yes, it definitely is.
Okay. Well, and people, if they're interested, they can again get information from your website about maybe getting involved with some coaching from you because a lot of writers need help and they might be
Yes,
looking for that.
yes. No, that's very true. I
Inspirational thing to say, and it's very important. Now, I this is what do you see on your journey? Now, especially with Creatures in the Night, do you see ever turning this into a film?
Yes, I was approached about 2 years ago, before the pandemic hit, on Angels of the Night and Creatures of the Night, both being picked up for films by some pretty big studios. And then, of course, the pandemic hit. So we're kind of on limbo. But yeah, definitely, if I end up doing it myself, because see now, because of this studio and my friends that I'm connected with,
Yeah.
I could actually do it, you
Yeah, you
know?
could make it happen.
Yeah,
You just
exactly. I mean, it doesn't have to be Warner Brothers, or which would be great, it doesn't have to be a huge studio, especially with the writers strike and
yeah,
everything that's going on right now. Uh,
yeah. Yeah, it's a good thing you should consider it because they
yeah,
sound like very powerful projects.
yeah.
I created a movie when I lived in
Oh,
California in my home. I just made it all that it could be shot in my home and got a team together.
that's
So do it.
amazing.
Go for it. You can do anything. Now,
So,
I always like to ask my guests this question because like
okay,
you mentioned, there are other people not knowing what's up and everything. What would you suggest to younger people who do want to write or think they might be able to do something? What are some first steps they could take to do something to get towards that destination?
sure. The first thing, uh, for writing, go to Walmart, go to a store, buy 99-cent notebooks. Put everything that you want to write. Like if you have a story, one particular story of mine, just write it down. Don't worry about your edits. Don't worry about grammatics. People, we all get hung up on that. We lose the story.
Yeah.
Don't worry about, you know, anything. Just write it all down. That's what I do. And then after you've written it all down, you go back and you compartmentalize everything. This is how I did Creatures of the Night. Oh, this is chapter 1. Oh, this should be in chapter 4. And then you just break it up. Like, oh, this is the ending. This is how this is going to end. And then sometimes, and that's how your characters and your development and things kind of start changing, and that way you don't get writer's block. You should try to have some kind of ending before you start writing. That would be my second tip. I know how all of my stories are already going to end
Okay,
before
so
I
you
even
kind
write.
of you start at the end
I
and
think that's
work.
very, very important. Yeah. Yeah, people probably don't. Well, I know my closest friends know this about me. I used to just go into stores and get those little like Harlequin paperback
Oh,
books
yeah, I used
and
to
read
read
the
that.
back. And if I didn't like the way it ended, I wouldn't buy it.
Oh, That's very interesting.
Because why would I
Well,
waste my time,
yeah,
right?
that's your
Because if
process. Yeah.
your book is going to be made into which is like your third vision, I really think visually you should be able to see it. You have
Yes.
to be able to see it,
Yes.
whether it's going to be a movie on net, whatever. It because then your readers aren't going to be able to visualize it.
Exactly. We're creating movies for their mind.
Right, exactly. So and it needs to read fast,
Yeah.
But um yeah, and that always helped me because my endings I think are important. I have good endings, but they're open in case I want to do a sequel, or if they do get picked up for films again and they want, maybe a franchise. Can we make three or four? Sure, we can. So I think that's important. But if you want to write an ending, that's fine too. But I also found out in the film industry, unless you're writing just for a lifetime or something, like that, they want like a lot.
Yeah.
And it's good leverage too, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, exactly. That's like with the series that they do that astounds. That's one I've written so many different things, but never a TV series or a Netflix series. I kind of almost feel that you need other writers to work with to do that.
Actually, right now I'm doing two of those. Of course, I'm under NDA. Well,
Okay.
actually, I am under NDA for one. One's already done, finished. We're putting it in festivals right now. I had an author reach out to me and I adapted. She actually wanted a screenplay for her book, but it was a huge book. And that's one thing I don't care about the Stephen King books or
Mhm.
the films because I feel like so much of the book is missed in the films.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
They're so big.
Yeah.
And if you read the book, you're going to be disappointed with the movie. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Sometimes. So I told her, I said, why don't we make the chapters into episodes and see if we can, like have a pilot and see if we can write it episodic. And so that's what I did. So
Yeah.
that way she didn't lose anything.
Yeah.
And then we can put it on Hulu, we can put it on Netflix, and then we already have a script if we're going to do it.
So are you like taking it, you're doing the work, you're taking it out and turning it into episodes? You're
Yes.
writing it that was that the way it's
That
done?
that one's already done. Yes.
Okay, so does she care if you interject any of your own thoughts, or does it have to stay
Oh
on
no,
track?
that's how a lot of my clients when they hire me to do things. Yes, because and I let her know like, if it's going to be written in a script, then this is how
Yeah,
it needs to be described, or this might be
yeah,
worded differently. And you need to be very upfront. Like when you have clients
yeah,
or you're on my end, you really need to let
yeah.
whoever is hiring you to do something that this isn't really
And
working.
yeah,
If you
there's
really
really a
want
level of trust there. And
exactly.
it's as I suspected, you really need more than one voice to write a series. You really do. And that's
Yeah.
very good the way you're doing it. That's why
And
they
she's
have all these.
also, yes, exactly. And she's also helped me, we both together. It's kind of a together project because she's a writer
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
And we both kind of work together because I'm an author also. So I
Yeah.
know how she feels on that
That's
end.
yeah.
So,
That's
yeah.
amazing. What a good thing to do. I just love it. Well, this has just been wonderful, and I look forward to the day when you finally do turn that into a movie. I just have a feeling you're going to be doing it. So, this has been wonderful. Do you have any extra tips you'd like to add before we go?
Keep writing, keep
Okay.
journaling, keep acting, keep creating whatever you do. You're an artist, you're a writer, you're whatever you are, a teacher, just keep creating.
Yeah. And oh, where tell everybody where your books are available. How can they
Yeah,
purchase your books?
yes. They're available on Amazon. They're available on most online stores like Walmart, Walgreens, just independently online. So if you Google, usually everything Rokuku, I think, like if you Google it, they'll all pop up.
Well, that's why, and you do book signings sometimes. I saw your picture on
I
your
do.
site. It's book
Yes,
friends. Yay,
see?
we can share. That's wonderful. Well, Stacy, thank you so much. This has been delightful. I'm so happy that I got to meet you and we're Facebook friends.
Yes,
And
me
when you're up
too.
to You're welcome. And when you're up to your next step, your next part of your journey, we'll do this again and get everybody up to date. How does that sound?
I would love that. Yeah, let's continue
Oh,
the conversation.
absolutely. Okay, well, I thank you so much. I just love you. Have a wonderful day. See you
I
soon.
love
And
you too.
everybody, remember to subscribe here. You'll see it go by. We just love you and we want more people. Bye, everybody. Bye, Stacy. Take care.
Bye. Thank you so much.